Lenny wasn't special in life, and as it turned out, he wasn't special in death either. His departure from the mortal realm had been so unimpressive that no one even realized he was gone for several hours. He had been working late at the office, bleary-eyed and exhausted, when he tripped over a power cord, knocked over a cup of coffee, and landed face first onto his keyboard. The screen filled with an endless row of accidental keystrokes, and just like that, he was gone. No final words, no dramatic farewell, just the dull hum of the office fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a printer jamming for the 10th time that day. Lenny, now a ghost, hovered over his own lifeless body, staring in disbelief. He had spent his entire life filling out forms, answering emails, and trying to remember his company login, and now just like that, he was supposed to haunt things? He was, admittedly, kind of excited. Life had been mundane, but maybe death could be his chance to finally stand out. He had seen the movies. He knew what ghosts were supposed to do: rattle chains, flicker lights, make furniture levitate, and generally scare the living daylights out of people. With enthusiasm, Lenny set out to become a top-tier haunter. Since his body was still in the office, his co-workers just assumed he had fallen asleep at his desk again, Lenny decided to start his ghostly career right there. He tried to flicker the lights. Nothing happened. He tried again, focusing all his spectral energy on making the fluorescent bulbs tremble with eerie power. The best he could manage was an underwhelming flicker, one that just made his co-workers glance up in mild annoyance before going back to their screens. Not one to give up, he tried the classic mysterious cold spot. He hovered near the break room, concentrating on sending out waves of chilling air. Unfortunately, ghosts apparently had no real control over temperature because the only result was Brenda from accounting complaining that the air conditioner needed fixing. Determined to make an impression, Lenny attempted poltergeist activity. He set his sights on the office coffee mug collection. Surely if he could launch one across the room, people would start to fear the great and powerful office ghost. It took him 45 minutes to nudge a single mug an inch to the left. By the time someone noticed, they just assumed it was Ted from IT being careless. Frustrated, Lenny made one last attempt, a terrifying, echoing, ghostly moan. He took a deep breath, which was pointless given the whole no-lung situation, and unleashed what he was sure would be a chilling, blood-curdling wail. What actually came out was an awkward, wheezy ooh that sounded more like a clogged air vent than a supernatural force of terror. Brenda, still complaining about the air conditioning, submitted a maintenance request. Clearly the office wasn't the right place for his haunting debut. He needed a fresh start. Lenny decided to relocate. He drifted out of the office, after bouncing off the glass doors twice because he still hadn't figured out how to phase through things properly, and wandered into a quiet suburban neighborhood. Eventually he found an ideal house. 2 parents, 2 kids, and a dog. A perfect haunting target. His first attempt was an eerie, shadowy figure in the hallway maneuver. He positioned himself just right so that his silhouette would be visible in the dim glow of a nightlight. He stood there, motionless, waiting for someone to notice. And he waited, and waited, and then the dad walked right past him without so much as a glance. Annoyed, Lenny tried making objects move. He spent the next hour painstakingly pushing a single spoon across the kitchen counter. When the mother finally saw it, she picked it up, put it back in the sink, and continued scrolling through her phone. Lenny attempted doors next. He managed to make one creak open slightly, just enough to be spooky. Unfortunately, the family's dog immediately charged at the door, sending it swinging wildly and knocking Lenny clean through the wall. By the time he reoriented himself, the toddler had climbed out of bed and was poking at his ghostly form, giggling in delight. This was not the reaction he was going for. His next idea was a mysterious ghostly message written on a foggy bathroom mirror. He painstakingly traced out the words "Get out" in dripping ghostly letters. Unfortunately, his ghost handwriting was atrocious. The result looked more like gel oot, which made no sense to anyone. The father, upon seeing it, assumed one of the kids had written something weird with their fingers and wiped it away. After weeks of failed haunting attempts, Lenny had an epiphany. He was, without a doubt, the least scary ghost in existence. But maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to be scary. Instead of trying to terrify the living, he decided to help them in small, unnoticed ways. When the mother misplaced her keys, he nudged them into sight. When the kids left their toys scattered everywhere, He stacked them neatly, though this only led to the kids blaming each other for the weirdly organized mess. When the father fell asleep on the couch with his laptop precariously balanced on the armrest, Lenny gave it a gentle push back to safety. Over time, the family began to notice these little mysteries. The mother swore the house had a friendly presence. The kids started referring to their invisible helper as the tidy ghost. And while Lenny might not have been the most frightening spirit around, he was at least useful. As months passed, Lenny fully embraced his new role. He became a household legend, a benevolent presence that the family unknowingly relied on. The best part? He finally had purpose. He wasn't just some forgotten office drone anymore, he was a force of good. A silent, invisible helper making life just a little bit easier for one lucky family. And frankly, that was a lot better than being some lousy, second-rate horror movie ghost. In the end, Lenny didn't become a legendary haunter. But he did become something better, the world's first helpful ghost. And for a guy whose biggest achievement in life had been remembering his email password on the first try, that was more than enough.